I can just say I was extremely proud of both clubs. Extremely proud. I can't get over how well they work together. I can't get over how well the racers work together. I mean, are we going to have pushback? Were there people upset? Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely 100%. Well, oh my God, they made me do this. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? It's the real world. We're trying to come together. Let me tell you something. They sure like that prize fund money, and they sure like the competition. Because I got to tell you something. They never had that kind of prize fund, and they never had that kind of competition. And my mind is, if you're a drag boat racer and you're there to race, you want to race against the best. And what we were able to do as the NJBA and SDBA was give them the best.
Welcome to Powerboat Talk, the podcast where we talk everything performance boats with your host, Joe Road.
Well, hello, welcome to Powerboat Talk. So today I am with three gentlemen who are, I guess you could call them the leaders in the drag boat racing sphere these days. I've got Mr. David Carroll, who is a series director for the Southern Drag Boat Association. And I've got Mr. Mike DeClark, who is a president of the National Jet Boat Association. And I've got the infamous Joe Shelfo, who is financial secretary and the race director of the National Jet Boat Association. So thanks, guys. We got you all here together. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So start with you, David, and give me just a couple minutes on kind of your background and how you got involved in SDBA and how you got started in drag boat racing.
So how I got into drag boat racing, my dad took me as a kid, and we used to go to Waco and watch. It was the hot boat then in the Austin Boat Club. We'd go to Austin and watch the boats race, and we'd watch them in Waco, and that's about the only two places. As a kid, I watched them. And later in life, kids, and moved to Marble Falls about 30 years ago. And when I first got here, they just started drag boat racing. And so I went to the first drag boat race there and watched it and thinking, that's something that I'm going to do. The first time I'd actually seen them after that, the only time I'd ever seen them after that with my dad was I was the little guy on top of the pyramid. I was on the Travis Boats and Motors ski team, and I was on top of the pyramid at Aquafest at a drag boat race in Austin. And then, fast forward 20 years later, I'm in Marble Falls as a resident here, just went to the races and started doing it, started volunteer, become a Fest volunteer. We pitted boats and doing that. And a couple of years ran by there and then bought a boat. We raced IHBA is what I raced, Division II, and chased all that stuff and won a couple championships doing that. And life took us out of it for a little while, just got busy with work. And when Mallory got out of college, when she was in college, I'd put a boat together for her to race. That's all she really ever wanted to do. And so we just raced the Marble Falls and then sometimes in San Angelo, because she was in college in San Angelo for a little while. And I rocked on there and started tuning some other guys' boats and helping them with theirs. And won a couple championships, just helping some guys do it. And when Mallory got out of school, we put her a boat together. I built a little PE boat. We ran it for a couple of years, and off and on I played my flat bottom, but I was more, a guy to help in the crew or something like that. Just my business was busy and just didn't give me time to do it. And I don't know, it's been about 5 years ago. Tommy Thompson had really come in and I say this in a nice way, but he actually had bailed the SDBA out. Their equipment was getting, tired, and Tommy come in and purchased the SDBA from the club, and then it was his, and he'd asked me to help him, or I actually kind of volunteered and helped him the first year, and later in that year, he kept telling me he wanted to talk to me, and anyway, he told me that he wanted to give me the SDBA, and
what a gift!
So, boy, yeah, no kidding. So, like winning the lotto, but not,
Yeah, gift that keeps on giving, right?
It's something that I really care about, and I mean, it was something I was volunteering. I was going to do whatever I needed to do to help the sport, and so I took it over, and then very first year, Lucas pulls out and dropped the slack. I mean, it was horrible. You know, it was like we didn't know where we was going. And then like that wasn't bad enough. Then we hit COVID. Okay, so it was snow, and it's been, man, I've done everything. I flew out to meet with these guys to start talking about the Firebird race, you know, several years ago, and it took this long to pull this thing off. I mean, every year we'd talk about it, and we just couldn't make it work. And this year was the third year we'd been back there, but it was every year we'd talked and just made this thing happen. Mike come race with us in Waco, and we've all been talking about it for a while, and, you know, just getting this thing put together. I mean, us being, you know, where both of us are at and pulling this thing off together, this was a huge deal. I mean, it really was. This was, I mean, I look at it as it was a statement, okay? And, you know, and we both wear the same title that we can't never work with anybody, or we don't. And it's like, dude, we took the two hardest clubs and worked together and did it well, I think, you know? So I'm proud of the way it finished. Look forward to more joint venture and, you know, playing a lot more with these guys for sure.
And we're talking about you guys, I believe you build it as the Drag Boat Nationals.
I'd love to get this thing to where we put you know, it's hard with the sportsmen guys. I mean, for us to travel out, I mean, for us to meet in the middle, it's, you know, 10 hours a piece probably, you know, it's hard to do. And so it's for a sportsman guy to do that. I don't think that, you know, unless things just really turn around. I mean, but I think that in the near future that we can be looking at a pro boat series, you know, and joint venturing it with these guys to where we can do pro boats to and make that happen, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've got a couple venues out there that we're looking at, and we definitely can, other than just being a long ways for everybody, I mean, we got places here we can play as well, you know. San Angelo's a really cool place. Mike doesn't really care about it, but it's pretty cool. And Waco's another one that's, I mean, a beautiful place, and it's a cool place as well. So anyway, I mean, my home's Marble Falls, and so we play here too. And it's, I mean, it's everybody's. No, this is the cool thing about Marble Falls is, man, that is a lake boat, the Lake Fest committee, and those guys work on that race. I mean, 24/7, 365 days a year. And you get a committee doing that. I mean, for one, it's the only place that pays me to come play. I mean, they pay my purse. They pay me to put the show on. I'm just hired gun to come in and do it. And so that's cool to be able to, I mean, that's a boat promoter's or a sanctions, you know, dream to have a bunch of those. So anyway, that's what we want.
Cool. And then, yeah, we'll get to obviously, like I said, I wanted to bring you guys together to talk about that final event and how you guys got together. But I'd like to go ahead. Hey, Mike, can you let us know? I know you're a competitive racer still today, Mike. You guys campaign an alcohol hydro, I believe. And then how'd you get into this and into the NJBA?
Well, you know, I know you've done a couple interviews with my good friend, Mr. Greg Shoemaker. And he's one I campaigned the top alcohol hydro with, and I did about 10 years with the jet boat also. I got involved in it probably like a lot of Southern California kids. Started out with a little jet boat at the river, started river racing, and of course it grew from there, you know. I watched my dad working on a boat in the garage since I was 5 years old, and I can remember telling him one day, "Hey, Dad, I want a faster boat than yours." And I can remember in 2000, I was 13, I was at Havasu, and the jet boat just ran 140 some miles an hour. And I looked at him and I said, "Dad, I think my boat's definitely faster than yours was." And we both laughed. And he said, "Yes, son, yours is definitely faster." But that being said is, I started, got a little bit older, put together some of my own little boats and went to the river and started river racing. And I figured out that if I wanted to run with some of the guys, that there was something I could do with the NJBA and run more consistently and a little fairer. And so I put together a boat and went to the NJBA, where I met Joe Shelfo also. I drugged Papa Shoe out of retirement. Me and him went out to 2007, went to the NJBA, and we started racing the jet boat. The funny thing about it is when we brought the jet boat back, we had a few guys tell us, "I don't know why you bring a jet boat to run unblown fuel jet. You're always going to run for second." And of course, if you know me and Greg's personality, we don't ever run for second. Sooner or later, we ended up dominating the unblown fuel class. And Of course, we run that a few times. And in 2014, we won the QE championship in the Lucas Oil and the ADBA and unblown fuel jet and in NJBA, and decided to step up to top alcohol. But I really got started in it just because I love the fact that I've been around boats my entire life and figured I'd get involved with the sport that I truly enjoyed. I enjoyed a lot of the members after I got to know them since 2007. And 2009, Ken Simons asked me to step onto the board. In 2010, he threw me to the Wolves and said, "You're going to go to the Lucas Oil meeting and see if you guys can't put on a series together with Lucas Oil." And me and Joe traveled in 2009 or 10. We traveled to the track in Wheatland, Missouri, and I sat down with the 5 heads of all the other associations and got started. Since then, I've been the guy, like David says, he got given the SDBA. I don't know if that was a gift. That sounds more like a curse if you ask me, being that I've been involved with this for so long now. The thing is I've been the president from 2009 to 2012, and Josh Patridge took it over. And then Josh, of course, what happens is when you become the president, it's a thankless job. Nobody thanks you. The reason why you do it is you do it for the love of the sport. You do it for the love of the people. And of course, you've always wanted a place to race. I mean, the selfish part of it is I stay on as a president and do the best I can so that I can continue to have a place to race. And I'm hoping that the younger generation that came up like I did, that been around boats their entire life, have a place to stay. Not to get off topic, but we've had the Sierra Club attack us at Lake Ming quite a few times, and we've been in a fight for our lives to keep it. And I feel like there's always a reason why you're put in the place you're at. And so we were pretty lucky during COVID that we had some help to be able to maintain and keep the lake for NJBA, and really working with the county. That being said, is every time I think I want to bail out not being the president and just go race, it's always calling me back saying that they need a little help. So I like to race with other associations because that way I get to go let my hair down and be a racer and not a president, not an authority figure. And authority figure I use very loosely, because let's be honest, I'm not very serious most of the time. And then again, I'm not liked very much at the time. So me being able to go to other associations, I'm liked a lot more. So that's kind of a quick rundown of how I got into this and how come I'm still into this. I think that I'll let you know that I met Joe Shelfo in 2009. Since I'm speaking first, he was racing me in that QE class. At that time, 8-second class. And he just got by me at the last second, blew up his motor, and I thought, you poor bastard, you had to beat me so bad you blew up your motor. So that being said, I'll turn it over to
Joe. You've never heard that before, I'm sure, Joe, right?
Oh yeah.
And I gotta tell you, Mike, you can really, because Mike, you're also the starter, right, for all the races?
Yeah, I start quite a few of the NJBA races. Yes, sir.
I follow it on social media, and you can always, your banter with the racers, some of the videos you put up there, you can certainly see that you really enjoy it, and that, you know all the guys, and all the guys know you. So that's pretty cool.
But the thing is we go out there and the camaraderie, I raced with a guy, probably Joe Mack. I remember Joe Mack said that the thing he loved about drag boat racing is the excitement. And then, you know what, you're always on the edge. So you love the guy that you're racing with even more, because you really don't know what can happen after every pass. So it was kind of, that's the bond, I think, that keeps us together, is that excitement, that auxiliary, and the danger. Let's just be honest. We're not the brightest guys in the freaking world if we're jumping in a drag boat going 150 with no seat belts, no nothing. At least I got a little smarter. I got a capsule boat, but I mean, how smart is that? I mean, that thing goes under, you drowned. So
yeah, I think you got the safety covered a little better than that. So
yeah, we do. But I've seemed to press the limits when it comes to safety. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Come on, Shelfo.
And then last but not least, the brains behind the organization, right?
I don't know about that. If I think Mike hit the nail on the head with the curse. It's be careful what you wish for. No, I actually, I'm second generation. My dad was racing back in the day. I was racing with him as a kid, helping him out. We went to Oakland, Oakland Estuary first, raced with the NDBA, and then we would go to Chowchilla, we would go to Red Bluff, we'd go all over the West Coast racing because that's as far as my dad would go. And then I got involved in racing in, I would say the mid 80s. Started off with a flat bottom, actually went backwards and got a tunnel jet, and then moved on to a hydro later on. And I think the reason why I made the move to the hydro was safety. I'd been pitched out of the seat of the flat bottom a few times, been hurt, that kind of stuff. So I just kind of knew my limits. I knew if I was going to drive a flat bottom, I'd probably kill myself, if not really hurt myself bad. So that's what directed me in that direction. But moving forward, I got involved with the NJBA as a tech inspector. I was asked to do that just because of a little bit of background that I had with boats, and did that for years. Stepped away from racing while I was doing that, and then I would dip back into racing. So I'd bounce in and out, helping the club, and then I'd race for a while, and then just like Mike said, I would race with other organizations. I would race the IHBA because I could let my hair down and race there, and then do my duties with the NJBA. And we ran there for quite a while. We won a couple championships with the IHBA and Pro Eliminator. That was back in the day when you'd have anywhere between 32 to 40 boats in the class. It was great. There was a lot of competition.
Wow.
You'd go 7 rounds sometimes, race on Mondays, that kind of stuff. So, and then I got deeper and deeper involved in helping out racers. So I opened up a shop, and I dipped back out of racing for a while, built boats for a lot of guys, a lot of pro mod boats. Got involved in Top Fuel stuff with Ron Braxma. I partnered with Ron Braxma on producing parts for the racers. And then I dipped back into NJBA again, helping out the club. I've always had a good love, a strong love for the club just because it was a club. And it was local for us, and it needed help here and there. So we would on an occasion help out when it was needed. And then I received a phone call from Mike DeClark, and he said, "Hey, I need your help again." So here we are, back at it. So I would just say at this point, it's been a hell of a ride. I love it. I love the people. This last race that we had when we partnered with David and the SDBA was something that was long needed. It's something that is positive, and I think we're all going in the right direction with it. Yeah, we're always going to have a little differences between the clubs. There's no doubt with that, but David initiated this thing with us. I remember when he did come out to Bakersfield and initiate this conglomeration of the clubs, and I thought, well, let's give it a shot. And a lot of our members and our board members really weren't on board with it, because a lot of people don't want to change. There's a lot of people that struggle with change, but we saw an opportunity to change and to grow, and we asked our we did ask our members, hey, do you guys want to grow or do you want to stay put? And they all told us they wanted to grow, so that's what we're going to do, and keep moving forward. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I could probably talk all day about my background with it, but and then of course racing with Mike DeClark, I do race with him as well. That's a kick in the butt. Anybody anybody that knows Mike, it's a kick in the butt to race with him. And we get to travel, we get to see other places. I really enjoy racing with the KDBA. I enjoy racing with the SDBA, CDBA, all the clubs. I've enjoyed all of it. So I feel like a blessed man.
Cool. Cool. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you guys all for that. And yeah, I mean, we laughed about, them, David, somebody giving you the SDBA and, how that was, but the fact is it's a tough go. And, it's a tough go. You guys are in a tough business to get this stuff paid for and run safely, and attendance and facilities. Like Mike said, I know it's a bit of a battle at Lake Ming right now, but everybody's kind of against what you do, and so it's cool. I mean, obviously makes sense that it's very cool that you guys are able to get together and understand that you're much stronger together than apart. So good for you guys for doing that. So I wanted to just have David, before we get into that a little bit more, I wanted to have David, Joe, while you were packing up leaving California and Mike was out playing cowboy, David was actually he was at the PRI show, the Performance Racing Industry show. They took the Liquid Voodoo fuel boat out there. And for you guys that don't know, I mean, most people know about SEMA, and a lot of people know about PRI. PRI is kind of like SEMA, but it's way more hardcore race, less of the wheels and that kind of stuff. It's a really cool show. But I just want to hear David real quick tell about that, because I thought that was cool that SDBA was out there with the booth and took the boat out there in the middle of all the hot rodders. And so how'd that go for you guys?
It was our fourth year to have a booth out there. And the first year I was like, man, I was done. Like, no, it's $4,000 for the booth. And then I come back thinking that I really thought I would go out there and just get a bunch of sponsors and do it. And it was just, timing was bad. We started out, we've been through the 4 years there, we've gotten our booths gotten better. We got closer to people that we need to be with. The whole thing is just a growing process, just like everything else is. I honestly believe that this was the best PRI we ever had. Taking the boat was huge. They've had boats in there before. Lucas had boats in their stuff, 6-7 years ago. And I remember then that it was a big deal. And so anyway, I had the opportunity to go put the fuel boat in there, an alternative fuel. And so they put me over there with some electric cars and stuff like that. And, it really was. It was like there were so many people that, I mean, there was probably a split, and 50% of the people knew exactly what boat it was, what it ran. They knew all the stats, all that stuff.
Oh,
and
nice.
What the hell is that? Okay.
Yeah. And
just, it excites me to be there and talk about that, and try to sell that kind of stuff, because, I didn't, and Joe was out there too, man. Him and his brother-in-law come out there and visit and made the trip through there. But the whole deal is about the PRI. I mean, I learned a couple of years ago that it wasn't about the SDBA at the PRI. It was about drag boat racing and promoting our sport. And, and a lot of people see that, but I took that stuff out there because it's about the big picture and that deal right there. Because you're not going to walk away with, it's an expense that you're going to do, and it's going to come back to you, but it's coming back to everybody in the sport. And that was my goal in that whole deal, is the big picture and what it takes to do that. Now, of course, I go out there and promote. We have a Trinity Drag Boat Racing Ministry that we do, and we go out there and promote. My partners deal with Mike and the drag boat racing itself. But, I mean, it's huge, and there's people out there that's never seen it. And, I mean, that thing represents a lot of different countries. And, I mean, we took our sport to lots of different places that it's never been when that boat went this year. Next year, they've asked me to bring 3 boats. I mean, that place is so big.
Awesome.
We'll put one on the board, and I've got two different people that we buy parts for. We'll have a boat in their booth as well. But it's huge, and and like I said, I think as the big picture went, I really do think that move right there promoted it for all of us. I mean, that was huge. I really believe that.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's exactly how I saw it too. And hot rodders are hot rodders, man. They like to see stuff that's yeah. So that's cool.
I mean, we had a monitor going with a big TV and play stuff like that. But it's like every year we get better and better. And I mean, it's like the PRI's playing our stuff. I mean, they're promoting our stuff. I mean, they rode around our boat down there when we just unloaded it. They didn't even have the carpet down yet, and we was unloading the boat, and the girl riding around it on the bicycle. Well, that video actually took in. I mean, it viewed over 100. It's still going up, but it's viewed over 100,000 times.
Oh, nice.
Big
Nice.
deal, man.
Nice. Well, good job with that. I just wanted to bring that up so people were aware of that. So that's cool. So Joe, so you got this guy, David, he lays out this plan. Let's get together. What's the first conversation with you and Mike like? I mean, what's the first things you're like, okay, what do we got? What are the big roadblocks here? Or was it just all smooth and easy?
You know, I can honestly say that Mike and I, our vision of drag boat racing aligns. We have the same vision of growth, of creating a great venue, a professional venue. We've always wanted that with the NJBA. We had a few roadblocks along the way, because we're a board, we're a nonprofit. We have to deal with others. We don't get to determine the direction of the club. So, but we do see a pathway. We see a pathway to get this thing to grow. It's been growing. There was a time when the NJBA was the smallest club. I would just say it was kind of the smallest, just a podunk, club. That's what it was. And I think with David getting involved, coming out and seeing us and talking to us about it and sparking up the interest, it's really turned. We've made the turn. We've grown fast, and when when the IHBA sold to Lucas Oil, we really weren't on board entirely with Lucas Oil, and we were the only club that didn't sign on with Lucas Oil. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad we did not do it at the time, because it was good for us at that time. But moving forward, we adopted some of their rules. We adopted some of their ways. We learn from all the other clubs. Just like David said, I went to the PRI, show for two reasons. I wanted to see if it was something that the NJBA needed to be involved with. And I absolutely believe we need to go to that. I think that everybody that's into motorsports should go to the PRI show.
Absolutely.
It's a
cool.
show. It's a bucket list thing. And I think for the most part, going back to this, I think that Mike and I, we're gonna keep pushing and pushing and pushing until we get this thing going the direction it should go. The only thing I see that could possibly slow us down is our government. Our ways. California is tough to do business in. We are struggling. We are fighting every day to keep Bakersfield. And Bakersfield, Lake Ming is one of the best places you can possibly race. One of, it's not the best, but it's one of. And we're going to do our best to keep it going. But like I said, this partnership with the SDBA, and hopefully we can get some of the other clubs on board, it will make us all as a whole more powerful to keep this thing moving. And that's our goal.
Now, Mike, I know there was, and I don't remember the exact particulars of it, but I know there was some issues early on with the dates. Like you guys had this date, you didn't have this date, and I'll mention the ADBA had a date, and there was some controversy over that. Can you kind of clear up how that all went down? I know Firebird coming back into play had something to do with it. If you guys don't want to talk about it, that's fine too.
It's so I'll tell you how the NJBA has been getting their dates. We're dealing with Kern County, and Kern County, the park is a state park, and it's governed by Kern County. So when we get our dates to race, we've always put in for the last 20 years. We put in for the third weekend of April, May. You know what I mean? So it's March, April, May, and then we go October, September, and November. So we've always put in for 6, and it's always the third weekend of every month. And the reason why we do that is hey, number one, I'll be perfectly honest with you, it's been proven now that Lake Ming was designed and built by drag boat racers or boat racers. Okay, first circle boat racers, then drag boat racers, And we now have that has been documented. So that'll go down now that it's been documented, and it's been documented lately. So you don't have to go back in the archives and find out. So that being said is we usually have first rights of the dates we pick. The reason why we pick those dates is because we've been doing it for the last 20 years. The other reason is they do give the lake up to the Cancer Society, the Breast Walk, you know what I mean? Charitable things that'll help out, you know what I mean? Which we have no problems with. That being said is when we put our dates out there, we hope that all the other associations understand we're not putting a date out on somebody else. Okay? We're putting our dates out there. We'll let everybody know it hasn't changed in 20 years. Okay. The other thing is being that we're from Southern California, David kind of touched on it. Guys from Texas, guys from Kentucky, guys from even further back, they don't want to make that 27-hour truck to Bakersfield. So we're kind of our own little group, our own little entity. But it's really never been a problem. But what happened is, and I'm not sure what year ADBA came into existence. ADBA now is fighting for some of the racers. A lot of those racers from Arizona would come join with NJBA. And of course, what happens now is they have a place to race in Arizona. So now what we have is competing dates. Now you've got the other associations, NADBA, CDBA, which is up north, and us having our dates, and we're putting our dates out there. It's really, really tough to be able to, for us, at least let me speak for NJBA, to change our dates. It's nearly impossible. Okay. And when we're given our dates, it's written in stone and done by the county. So when we put it in, like we put in for 2024 also, we tell them, hey, same thing as last year, same thing as last year. The county works with us, we do it. So we're never trying to stack dates. The other organizations are trying to stack dates. That's on them. It's not on us. You know what I mean? We're a true nonprofit. Okay. We're not for profit. So what we're doing is we're doing this specifically for the drag boat community when we put these races on. Okay. If ADBA feels like we're stacking races on them, I'm sorry. I want to make it very, very clear that I fully support the ADBA and the fact that I believe, and I don't mean this in any derogatory way, a great farm club for new racers. They go out of their way to make new racers feel welcome. And the thing is that the drag boat racing industry, when you start to become more professional, it kind of scares some of the other people away that I believe want to get started. They have a unique ability to bring in river racers, ski boats, and put the necessary provisions for safety to get them to race. I would hope that we could not stack inevitably. I think that their racers, our racers, are two different categories. Not always, but sometimes, and I don't believe it's a bad thing. But let's be honest. If I didn't have people that were upset with me, I'm not doing my job, right? But let's just be perfectly honest. I can't keep everybody happy. And I can't make schedules for everybody. All I can do is what I think is best for the majority of the population of boat racers. So I just want to get that clear that we are by no means trying to stack any dates, but by no means am I going to call the county and have they issued a date to me and try and change it, especially since they've locked it in place.
Yeah, got it. And like you say, you've been doing it for 20 years. I'm sure everybody locks all the drag boat racers. I mean, they lock that stuff into their calendars for years ahead of time,
The date that I shoot for Phoenix every year is the date between the Vegas race and the Pomona race, because we've always had a lot of those fans that travel from the Vegas NHRA race.
Oh,
they
gotcha.
Keep us on the way, and then they go to Pomona and race. And that was really the target date that I've had. It was always the date that we raced out there for a long time. Thanksgiving, when they changed the NHRA races, that's how that got changed. Is talking about I raced in 6 different places, and that's what. And these guys understand it. They've been to our races, but the deal is when I get a date in Marble Falls, they tell me the rodeo's here this day. Here's the date you get. We raced in the same week, the second weekend in August for 25 years here. And when I took this thing over, I was begging them to change it from August to June because I was trying to get out of that 115-degree day we raced in August. And I mean, it's brutal. And so I wanted to try to get in. Plus, we watched the wind start coming in, and I mean, typically the Gulf in the end of the 1st of September. So being at the middle to the end of August, it was starting to get blown out, and it was getting tougher to race there. So I wanted to move it into early, and so we finally got into June. And they got the rodeo one weekend, we raced the next. Same thing with Waco. They got something at that lake every weekend, and so when I put in for my dates, I got to be prepared to go 1 week before or 1 week after, depending on how that thing's scheduled. San Angelo is about the only one that really works with me and lets me come in there and do these dates. Okay, and we race there. Paris, Texas, man, I can pretty much race there most of the time. Although Paris has got 3 boat races there this year. The Outlaw guys are going to race there. I do a test and tune and a race there, and now they got this jet ski coming. When we first went to Paris, Texas, there wasn't. I mean, that park wasn't even being used, and it's a cool place. I mean, they built almost $1 million out ramp last year. They're supposed to be working on almost $1 million in ramp in the next couple of years.
Wow.
They're working on that money for it right now. But when you're dealing with city governments to do that, man, you got to take what they can. To say you stack a race, man, I mean, unless you own the track, it's almost impossible to do for what we do. We deal with cities and governments. We do what they allow us.
Yeah, gotcha. So I'm still curious, though, because so we have these entities, and you guys kind of have your own rules. You have your own classes. I'm sure there's some overlap. It's probably not completely intermingled. So how did that go? I mean, what were those meetings? I'm just curious. Like, it just seemed like it would have been a big chore to put you guys together to be able to put on a race, coordinate, keep everybody happy. So what were some of the challenges?
Okay, we all had to give some, and it's one of those deals. But we opened the door to make those changes and see what we can do. Okay, we did this. Man, our banquet is February 3rd, and on the 2nd, I got invitations going out to every club, inviting them to go to at least go over my rules and talk about yours. And I want to do that. We got to open. If we don't open the door, we never know. I mean, what we did with these guys here, hey, we can tweak just a few little things and get better. I promise you. And they know that too. And like, man, I'm going to tell you, for as far apart as we were, I think it was pretty flipping awesome. I really do.
That's cool. So you were able to accommodate 100% of your guys based on classes, were there some guys that kind of?
We have different stuff. Okay, they got capsule. They got some open boats that run by capsules, so I have trouble with that. Because if I allowed that, and with what I do here, really, if I allowed that, I would have guys pulling their capsules out, going back and saving lots of money and running this, that class. And there's some stuff that, man, we really, I think that, I mean, and I understand why they do it. Okay, I mean, my pro mod class is the class that's affected by that. Okay, and it's a lot cheaper to run without a capsule than it is with one. Plus, everything gets easier to do. I mean, when you step up to a capsule, but typically most of my guys, I mean, we start a jet ski. The personal watercraft is an entry level class. Okay, and I try to keep it that way. We got some adults that race it, and I'm fine with that. But typically, most of those kids migrate into boats and move up, and that's what we started it at. That's what we want to keep it at, and that's where, I mean, majority of our guys, and so I restrict those guys to where you're not going to have a jet ski that's going to outrun my boat. Okay, you're going to get the boat, and to be honest with you, it's cheaper to run a boat than it is a jet ski if you're outrunning them. I mean, it's expensive to do that, and so I've got to respect the class above it is kind of where I'm at. But I mean, we've talked about this, and it's something that we'll continue to talk about. I'm not going to not do it. I mean, we're going to move forward with another one, and we're going to, I mean, like I said, I want to open the door and have the conversation, but that's one of those deals that these guys, I mean, like I said, we're going to have to meet in the middle somehow. I mean, for us to get to where we need to get, I mean, I don't know how much water we're going to have. I mean, our sport's crazy. I'll protect it everywhere I can go with it,
Yeah, that's a great attitude, a great philosophy to have. Absolutely, it's not enough of us and you guys to do it alone, So
And
Yeah.
to piggyback on this whole conversation, the NJBA has a little different dynamic, racing in California. As I get to see a lot of the financials of what it takes to put on all these races amongst all the clubs. All these guys share it with me. So to put on a race in California, it's almost double the cost of what it
Really?
would cost to put on a race in Texas or in Wheatland, Missouri, and all these other locations. It's super involved with permitting. You've got so many different dynamics involved in putting on a race at Lake Ming or elsewhere in California. So with that said, we offer 2 classes, 3 classes to some of our racers, and that's how we have existed. That's how we're able to fund our program, to keep our program running. And that's the different dynamic between us and the other clubs. And it's hard for our members to make a transition into what the other clubs do and vice versa. So at some point, we're going to probably have to transition, like David said, and give a little on both ends. I don't know if it's going to be, like the sportsman classes being able to run 2 classes and the pro classes not, or vice versa. But something's got to work out between all of us, so we have a rule book that aligns, so it's super easy for us to put these races on, co-sanctioned amongst all of us. I'm not talking about just the SDBA, but all of us, because that's our ultimate goal, is to get in line with other people and put on a real big finals race, a championship race like we used to have with the IHBA divisions. That was a really clever deal that Charlie Fagan put together, and I got to give him credit for everything he did. He wasn't the most popular guy, but he knew how to put on drag boat races. So, it's a model. It's a model for us to work towards, and like I said, I think with all of us involved, we can make something happen.
Yeah, I saw on your I saw somewhere on one of your sites or your entry a posting for the race last at the end of the year, but you guys you had right in there that you accepted CDBA, KDBA, everybody's license, and so you had open arms for everybody. So that's cool to hear that you're having conversations with them.
The thing that we did excellent, that both clubs did excellent, is we were able to work through the rule differences and work through it well. You know what I mean? Is it a work in progress? Absolutely. But I mean, that is something that we couldn't get past with Lucas, and we got past it with us working together with the SDBA. So that being said, it should go down in actually history that these 2 clubs that are actually completely different than each other, more in line with what the Lucas Oil rulebook was doing, and the NJBA was doing more of what the club rulebook was doing. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we have a traditional classes that really haven't changed in 50 years. You know what I mean? And as Charlie Fagan started changing the IHBA, things changed due to boat count. Well, us being in California, we have a different demographics. We still had guys that were still wanting to run those pro classes that don't have capsules. And we were very fortunate that the 2 clubs were able to work together, make this work with the rule books. I mean, that's outstanding. I mean, I can't tell you how. More than anything, I think that was the biggest win in everything, was we were able to come together and run together with 2 completely different sets of rules in some areas and completely the same rules in others. You know what I mean? Is there going to be good give and take? Absolutely. You're talking about Texas in the south and California in the west. You're talking somebody that's a lot more conservative out there than a lot more liberal here. I'm not saying the boat racers are. I'm just saying that there's 2 totally different demographics when it comes to the people that are racing boats. I can just say I was extremely proud of both clubs. Extremely proud. I can't get over how well they work together. I can't get over how well the racers work together. I mean, are we going to have pushback where there are people upset? Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely 100%. Well, oh my God, they made me do this. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? It's the real world. We're trying to come together. Let me tell you something. They sure like that prize fund money, and they sure like the competition. Because I got to tell you something. They never had that kind of prize fund, and they never had that kind of competition. And my mind is, if you're a drag boat racer and you're there to race, you want to race against the best. And what we were able to do as the NJBA and SDBA was give them the best. The other associations, I hope, will join us next year so they can be part of the best. You know, I'll touch bases real quick, and we can do it now or we can do it later. We had a trophy made, and the trophy said whoever the organization had the most winners got to bring the trophy home. So, I mean, and we weren't we didn't cut anybody out. We had CDBA, KDBA, NJBA, SDBA, and ADBA. All 5 associations. We had tags for them all. Now, if ADBA had won, I would have put that tag on and handed it to them and said, hey, take it to your association and bring it back the next year. So we didn't do this as thinking it was a one-time deal. We did this hoping that this would be something that goes on in the future and can bring us together. Because I noticed I was watching Facebook and I seen some guys, oh my God, here we go again. Man, didn't you see the leaps and bounds we already take? Don't get into the negative part and get into the positive. Look what we were able to do to come across this. Came across state lines and put everybody together. I mean, it was David's idea to accept everybody's membership. I mean, I'll take the gold in your teeth if you got it, okay? But I want your membership money. And it was actually David's the one that said, no, we'll accept everybody's. And I'm thinking, man, that's a little awful too generous for me. But, you know, that's what I'm saying. There's a give and take there. And then Joe over there, let's not kid yourself. Joe was worse than anybody. He wanted them he'd take their socks if they'd let him. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know about the trophy. So who won? What club won?
Yeah, well, I put on the pink pants and handed it back to David.
Get up there on that trophy
There it is.
That's cool. That's cool.
Glory.
You know, I just didn't see it coming. It sure stung.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great race. I didn't hear one negative thing about the race from any of our members that attended it. I think that, you know, all that attended that race enjoyed the hell out of that race. And
all the negative stuff getting there, I left there, and you know what? And I pretty much figured that that's the way it would be. But I think that when we left there, it was as good as we could. It was a hell of a lot better than I expected. Okay, and I mean, definitely look forward to doing it again. You know.
How many boats did you guys end up having?
156.
Wow, nice. And you mentioned the prize money. It was like like $88,000 or something, right?
Yeah.
And then, because the NJBA had double classes, you got to figure there was probably close to 200 plus boats that went down the track with the double classes.
I think so. That was actually those boats on the property that wasn't running double classes.
And then David and I were talking a little bit when you guys were trying to figure out how to work your computers that that top fuel run at the last race was like, talk about just putting a capper on the whole thing. It was fantastic.
So I have a little to add about that. I was actually the starter.
Yeah.
So, you know, David Starter had to leave the race because he was traveling to Italy with his wife. And they threw me on the barge probably the last couple hours of the race. And I'll be honest with you, I've never in my life, I've started a lot of races, but I've never in my life had two top fuel boats on the starting line. And I had my sunglasses on. And when those things took off, I shit you not, I have never felt so much heat from the exhaust, so much pressure from the exhaust, water hitting me at the same time, blew my sunglasses off of my head, blew a few things into the water, and I was deaf for a week. I mean, I had earphones on and I was still deaf for a week. It changed my life. That was something to see. Anybody that hasn't seen that from the starting barge, you've got to do it once. It's total insanity.
That's saying something for a drag boat guy like you to say that.
Yeah, you feel like you've lived and died. You know, it was incredible to see. And like I said, if there wasn't a spray of water along with it, I think I would have probably had no hair and no eyebrows and eyelashes left because it was hot. I can't believe the heat that comes off of those engines when you're on that starting barge. So
yeah, but it was just in the twilight like that. And we were talking about that, like, you know, you see the cars a lot of times running the twilight, but man, it's rare to see a boat, a fuel boat in the twilight like that. And the videos and stuff are just fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie to you. I actually I haven't told anybody this. I'm going to say it now. I kind of planned some of it because I started slowing up the runs at the end of the night because I wanted to see those candles lit in that perfect light. And I tell you, it couldn't have worked out better than the way it did. The time of the night was just perfect for two fuel boats, and it's something that I think we'll be able to look at for years and years and years to go back and see that run.
I think me and Dave are going to keep you off the barge. We wanted to go home.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah.
Well, good, Joe. If that's the case, we see who the guy is that really wants to keep this stuff going, man. We see
there
that.
you go. You know it.
Well, thanks, Joe. Yeah. If that's the truth, that was genius, and dragboat racing fans everywhere, thank you for that. So.
Yeah.
Hey, so Mike, tell me something. So when this is all said and done, is there something that David and SDBA did that you guys have now adopted that you were like, you know what? Why didn't we think of that?
Let me just touch base. David said I went to Waco and I raced with him in Waco. I've raced with David a few times. There's absolutely a bunch of things I enjoy about him. If I could, I would run single classes. And the only reason why is because it streamlines the whole program. The other thing is even though I'm a traditionalist and I want to run 1320, I'm a fan of the 1,000-foot only. It gets the classes done a lot quicker. I mean, we're more alike than we are different, so it's kind of hard to say. What I would not do is I wouldn't go as far as he does. He donates way more time than I had ever imagined. I mean, somebody that takes and lives, sweats and bleeds that stuff. I mean, I got to give it to David. He does it way more than me. But that being said, we're more alike than different. I mean, I don't know if I would say there's one single thing that I would change. I understand why they do what they do with their program, and I understand why we do what we do with our program. If we had more capsule boats, I'm sure we'd probably reconsider why we run the program the way we run it. But being that, being in Southern California, we have a lot more open boats, our turnaround time's a lot quicker than a capsule boat. So, I mean, that being said, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
How about you, David? Anything they did that you're like, oh, they're geniuses for doing that. I'm going to try it.
I'll tell you, I learned a lot from the guy. When I first met Mike, he was telling me about running the bar. You can actually see the race and where you're at doing that. And, and I don't run the barge, but I've learned a lot with the way, just watching, going out there and to other people's races and seeing how they do things. I mean, from loading the rope to doing, a lot of different things. I'm very involved with what's happening. Okay. And it's like, I've got a couple boats that race, but if I took the thing over, I pretty much abandoned them. Okay. They got people that when Mallory goes and races, I watch it. And when Kebin's in the fuel boat, I watch it. But as far as running the race, man, I'm all in, and it's like I spend a lot of time and I watch these guys. They've got the luxury of having a board. And to be honest with you, I didn't need a board when I took this thing over. I needed to clean up a lot of stuff. I needed to get us back on a line. We're going to involve some board members and do that. For one thing, if nothing else, you get a volunteer out of it. Okay. And I'm watching these guys come in, and it's like, you have to be obligated to be a board member. Well, I'm watching them bring these guys in there, and they're board members, and they're out there working free. Okay. So, you're going to get something out of being a board member besides helping the sport. But I don't have a lot of free help. I do have some, but I don't have a lot. It's hard to chew somebody's ass out if they're a volunteer. And I've run some people off too, but I think that's how we grow, man. It's like I said, this whole deal last year, if we want to do this, and these two guys here have been very involved in pulling this thing off, and we did it, and it's like, and we knew, I think that every one of us, and I think everybody said it today, that it come off a lot better than what we really expected, and it's only going to get better. We're going to try to line up the stars and the rules and at least know what the other club's doing. We got a long ways apart for us to put a program together with pro boats, and if one of us is going to insure it, what's cool is we have the same equipment, okay? Like this, we have the same equipment. We have the same. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that we have that's the same, and so and right down to the same insurance company. Now we have different insurance, but we have the same insurance company that insures us, and that's big. And so, you know, when we did this, I made them an additional insured, and we moved on, and we'll do races that other than the fuel boat. I have to carry. There's some different things when you get. I know in different areas, and some of the places I have to carry different insurances in different places, and you start playing on the reservation, it changes, you know, and it's and we'll continue to do that. But I'm excited about where it's going. I mean, I got to spend some time with Charlie Allen last week at PRI announcement that thing's staying, and so it's cool to think that, you know, we're going to do it again.
When you guys, because I think it was kind of later in the game when Firebird opened back up for that last race, what was the feeling like about that? Obviously, you guys were happy about it.
They asked me to wait to announce it, and I did that. Okay, if I shake your hand and look you in the eye, tell me, hey, this is the deal. We got a deal. You got a contract with me, and they asked me to do that, and that's what I did. That deal was never gone. Okay.
Okay.
And they asked me not to say something because they use that as leverage to get NHRA to come in there and make these deals. If everybody thinks it's going to go away, then it gives them some leverage with NHRA and other people to make these deals. And I understand that. And and they do. I mean, NHRA's losing tracks. They're back. They're on the schedule. They're twice next year. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's big. And so, you know, when they asked me to do it, I mean, there were some people that knew, but like I said, I kept my word, and that's what we did. You know, it was like, hey, I told them I had a deal made before I left, but it was one of those deals that they needed that for leverage. You know, and it's like, if you don't use it, we're not going to use it. And I think if we hadn't made the moves to go out there and do it, I don't think Firebird or Wild Horse Pass would be there at all. I really don't. I mean, we're making statements every year. We're getting bigger. I mean, I'm going to go out there and chase that hot money at the hotel and motel tax stuff this year. We're going to work on, you know, getting some help from others. That's what we want.
Yeah, fantastic. That was really good. That worked out. So 5 years down the road, perfect world. What's this look like? It works out exactly how you want it.
I think that we got a pro series for sure.
Yeah, you know, if you're asking me, I would say this. One thing I've learned from racing, I don't care what type of racing it is, you can't have too many events at the same place. Now, we have worn out Bakersfield. We truly have worn out Bakersfield. We have a lot of members that love it. I love it. It's easy. It's the same thing. It's like it's automatic for us. So the convenience part of it's great. The downside to it is we don't get the spectator participation like you used to back in the day when you had one or two events there in a season. So if in 5 years, if I had my way, I would have races at different locations that are good locations that are safe to race at, because I have my reservations for some of the locations that we've raced at in the past. Just some of the water that you go to is just, it's flat out dangerous, and it concerns me. So if I had my pick, I would and I'm not going to say what those picks are, but if I had my pick, I would pick probably 5 to 6 locations, because I think 6 races a year is plenty. And it would be in different locations at each race. And I would hope that we would have one large title sponsor that would be able to cover those races, and then a bunch of smaller sponsors that can come along with it and make a series out of it amongst all the clubs. And when I say all of them, I mean all of them, even the outboard guys that we don't even know who they are, that are out there in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. I like to see, you know, every type of boat race. I don't care if it's bass boats. I would love to see them all raced, because to me, racing is racing. I mean, I have a good time racing shopping carts in the store with my wife. You know what I mean? It's just fun racing. So That's I think the ultimate goal for me in 5 years.
Yeah, awesome. How about you, Mike? Anything to add?
I always believe, and I always tell everybody, I want short-term goals and long-term goals. The short-term goal for us is to find locations in California as a club, as NJBA, to be able to put on races and sustained and not balance our books off the back of the racers. Let's be honest. That's what NJBA has done over a long period of time, because when you stay in one location, you do not get the spectators that come in. I mean, the spectators will do this. Hey, look, there's 6 races a year here. I can do one race. I'll do September. And one family may say, I'll do March, or I'll do May. When you have one big race a year at each location, then what happens? You get the spectators. Let's just see what happened in 2018. 2018, I think they had close to 10,000 people come through the gate at Bakersfield. Reason why is It was a big show. They had fuel there and everything else. So if you think about that, that location can do it, but they had one big race a year. I believe all these other locations do. So short-term goal is to help NJBA find a way to become more lucrative, maybe find two, possibly 3 big races a year, to be able to generate some gate money, to be able to give back to the racers, so you don't have to keep raising rates on racers. Long-term goal for me would be able to build some kind of pro series where it involved all the clubs. I really would like to see all the clubs come together and do a pro series that was profitable for everybody. You know what I mean? The problem is, though, every one of these clubs needs to generate as much income as they can to be able to sustain what they have. That being said, is if you start taking a pro series from one organization and taking it to another, it may help that organization while hurting the organization that those other pro boats came from. So I don't know what that long-term goal needs to be acquired. I do know that it is a long-term goal. That long-term goal also needs to be incorporated into television or into internet TV. Because let's be honest, television's probably going
streaming.
It's going to go live stream. So that being said, is we need to find some good sponsors. We need to find some good live streaming, and we need to go that way. That's long-term. I think that would, and you need to bring the characters out. You need to get each person's character out to get that going. That's long-term. Do I have a way to get to that yet? No. I think the short-term goal is how to get to the long-term goal. The other part that I'd like to see is more associations playing with each association. What that'll do is promote more racers to come out and play. I think that the biggest step we did this year was having that co-race with SDBA. Hopefully next year, the rest of the clubs will come. That short-term goal will help to provide the long-term goal of putting up a pro series. I want to say one more thing. Some of the categories out there have taken amongst themselves to create their own little series. I'm not against that. I think that's great. You know what I mean? They want to say, hey, look, we're going to run 2 races here, 2 races there, and 2 races here. I think that's great. But what I also need to know is if they do that, we as associations need to come into a rule book that acquires, because as of right now, if you do that, who is going to manage and enforce the rules for that class? So that being said, I think that short-term goal also means getting the rule books in line. You know what I mean? As you can see, that 5-year goal is inevitably seeing us all come together as all associations. Short-term goal in the next 5 years is being able to have NJBA have a couple of races to generate more money, not to balance the books off the racers.
I'm sure those are all tough challenges, but obviously you guys have taken a huge first step into doing that. Talked about it, turned out fantastic, getting the groups together. I know, and I keep asking questions about it, but I know when I first saw that it was going to be this unified race, that was one of the first things I said, man, you got drag racers from 2 different parts of the country. How are you going to make it work together? So that's why I was curious to hear how that did. It was really cool to hear that it did come together well. And I also see you guys announce the schedules, and it looks like it's going to be on the schedule again for the co-event at the end. And I think I saw that you're going to do one in Parker too, right? In October, co-event with SDBA.
So as of right now, I mean, it's very beginning stages of that. We actually had somebody reach out to us and say, hey, look, we'd like for you guys. I mean, the NJBA has come leaps and bounds the last 2-3 years. It's actually the membership that's really helped the club grow. They've invested money with us. We've become a lot more, and I'm not saying we weren't professional before, What I'm saying is they've helped to make the classes more professional with amongst themselves. And that being said, is it draws attention to some of these facilities. And Parker was one of them. You know, somebody said, hey, look, NJBA is doing this, they're doing that. And they had contacted somebody on our board and contacted another person on our board. And they came to us and said, how about having a race at Parker? And that's originally where from the NJBA is from, to where we were kind of started at. So it'd be nice for our roots to go back. Hopefully we can make it work where other sanctioning bodies can race with us. But like I said, this is all the first year things. We'll see what happens. We don't want to, like I said, steal from other clubs to where we're taking from their pocketbook so they can't be in existence either financially. So, I mean, that being said, yeah, NJBA is doing everything they can to put on that race, and I'm hoping David can help us. And if David can't, we understand that also.
It's so Joe, that I set the schedules out there just recently, and I even went ahead and scheduled 2025. The reason for all that in the past, we've had a lot of our members, a lot of people have always wondered why are we always so late to the game? Why are we posting our schedules out so late? Well, in Kern County, technically, we don't have those timelines until after the first of the year. But what I've been doing in the last 2 years is sending in the application, sending in the payment, prepaying it. They're appreciative of that, and that's how we're able to get the schedules out early enough for our racers to set up their time for vacation time, because these racers are working people. They've got jobs. They're 9 to 5s. They're blue collar workers. They've got to put in their vacation time to get the time off to attend these races. And believe me, we think about it. We don't hold back 1 second for any of it. It's just most of the time these folks they don't really understand the ins and outs, but we don't hold back on it. So, but with that said, Blue Water did approach us. We didn't approach them. I'm excited because once again, that's where I attended my first NJBA race was at Blue Water. It was great, and it's our home. That was our home, and I'm excited about it. And hopefully, David and the SDBA and all the other clubs can be a part of it, and it can be successful.
Nice to have a venue that wants you and reaches out and is proactive.
It's pretty rare. Yeah.
Cool that it looks like, if you end up having both races together, that'd be great, but looks like it's gonna be a healthy schedule one way or the other. But is there anything we guys missed that we'd like to say or to tell people about that we missed?
You got anything, Mike?
Are you kidding me? I think I've been long-winded enough. They're probably going, God, get that guy off the freaking mic.
You guys have been great, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Both associations are all over social media, Instagram, Facebook. I think you guys you have a website too, David. I know NJBA does.
SDBAracing.com.
There we go. So follow these guys on social media. They all do a really good job of it. They both have some really good video guys they bring to their events, so you'll get to see a lot of good video after the event. So follow them on social media and get out to a race if you get a chance. So
hey, Joe.
Again, guys, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Yes,
Joe,
sir.
Before you go, what did you do before you started doing this? What was a little bit of your background? Didn't you have something to do with Marine too for a while?
I did. In fact, I was the sales and marketing guy at Eddie Marine, and I was sponsoring your hydro.
Yes, you were, and I wanted to bring that up and thank you sincerely about that. Yes, sir.
That's how we know each other. I was the guy that was always trying to beg you to use social media.
For that, I don't think I ever officially got to. I never thought I got to officially thank you, but I wanted to thank you now.
No problem. Well, it wasn't me writing the checks. It wasn't me. Eddie always had a soft spot in his heart for Greg. So anything Greg wanted, Ed would do for Greg. And so, that's how that always, Greg and Ed and I we worked at Rex Marine like in 1990, and Greg would come in there so we've been doing business with him for a long time. So that's what that was about. But yes.
Anybody that really knows Greg Shoemaker would have a soft spot for Greg Shoemaker. He is 1 in a million, I have to say. And I love the man. I mean, when I first met him, I'll be honest with you, I did not like him at all. He pissed me off to no end. But he's one of those guys that he grows on you, and you can't help but love him. And now we call him Papa. And he's on our race team, and he's referred to as Papa at this point. So
that's funny. Yeah, I love talking about. I talk to him maybe once a month or so, and he's always calling me because he's all into this. Once I did this, he's like, "Oh, you need to get this guy, get that guy," and I'll call him just to say, "Hi, what's up?" And then we'll end up talking for an hour and a half. I'm like, "Man, I should just turn the tape recorder on every time I talk to you."
If you ever get any free time, I'll tell you the story on how me and Shoemaker met. It could be its own show in itself. Old Greg, he came up to me and I told him, get in the truck. Well, Joe, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you guys again. I appreciate it. And we'll keep an eye on what you guys are doing and I'll promote as best I can. So
appreciate
good
you
luck
guys.
with everything.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Take care.
Joe, thank you, Joe.
Thank you for listening to Powerboat Talk. If you like what you've heard, please head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. For more Powerboat Talk, follow us on Facebook or Instagram, or visit our website at powerboattalk.com.